always known how to make some money or to hustle up some money. And sometimes we would turn our homes into a business. And you ain't got to report that shit to the IRS. I mean, you do. IRS, if you're watching, yes, you do. You do. You have to. Okay? You have to. Blink. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com. Y'all, I haven't been promoting the site recently because I've just been so busy working and doing these videos. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, let's recap and review Patti Labelle's Don't Block Your Blessings. Revelations of a Lifetime. I was a homely little child, just as funny looking as I could be, when I heard Maya Angelou say how ugly she felt as a little girl. I wanted to call her right up and say, "Girlfriend, you too?" Maya said she was certain that a cruel fairy stepmother had turned her into a too big Negro girl with nappy black hair, broad feet, and a space between her teeth so big it would hold a number 2 pencil. Well, Maya didn't have a thing on me. Only I didn't have nappy black hair. Mine was red. And it wasn't my feet that was broad, it was my nose. Of course, a big nose was 1,000 times worse than big feet. At least you can hide big feet in some big shoes. But there was absolutely nothing you could do to hide a nose like mine. It was always there, front and center, right between the eyes. Okay, pause. Sometimes some people mention how big my nose is because the nostrils have got to be 1 inch a piece. I told you I grew up in a family of very light-skinned women. I was probably, me and my maternal grandmother were probably the darkest at the time. We both were like brown. My sister, I don't know how she started out as light-skinned and then ended up dark-skinned. I don't know. Okay, I believe it was all them summers she spent down there at Banneker. I never felt like I was attractive. I knew that I wasn't ugly, but I knew because I had this big nose that I was always going to be the one that was not chosen first, second, third, fourth, or fifth. And to be quite honest with you, as a young person, as a teenager, when it manifested in my behavior sexually, I always felt like a person was doing me a favor by messing with me because my nose was so big. It wasn't until maybe I got in college that people really started saying that I was pretty. And I was like, I'm pretty? I mean, people tried to tell me that I was ugly, picking on me, but that shit didn't work. I knew I wasn't ugly. I just knew I had a big ass nose. And back then, it wasn't cool to have big lips. So I knew that I had those things working against me. And like I said, having big nose, big lips, thick glasses did not work for me. But then when I got in college, and I took these classes off and I got me a pair of contacts, I started hearing that I was pretty and, pretty sexy. Being one of the big nose sisters. In fact, one of the main things that me and BFF had in common was that we both had like weirdly strange, large noses. Taking it back to Patti Labelle, she compared herself to her sisters. Her sisters were the beautiful swans. She considered herself to be the ugly duckling. When I compared myself to the other women in my family, I really didn't think that I was beautiful. But then later on in life, I realized that we all came from Hilda the Great. And I'm Hilda the Great's, my maternal grandmother's twin. I should have known I was friggin' beautiful. And it wasn't just looks either. Where they were graceful, I was gawky. Where they were smooth, I was shy. And I was shy too, really shy. So she goes on to talk about her parents. Her mama's nickname was Chubby because she was a little short, a little thick. Her daddy, who she was absolutely madly in love with, she say he was fine. Ooh, like that Satin Struthers fine. Maybe Nat King Cole fine. Biggity fine. Idris Elba fine. Denzel fine. He's a good man, Savannah fine. She was proud of her father. And her father was the one to make her feel special. Then there was Naomi Thompson, was Chubby's best friend. Chubby is her mama, remember that. And I can't remember the time she didn't live with us. She was like a second mother to me and loved me like I was her own. When I was knee-high to a piano bench, she used to bathe me in the kitchen sink. Girl, she'd say, shaking her head, you got the rustiest behind I've ever saw. I can't tell you how many hours of my earliest childhood were spent in her arms, in her lap, in her bedroom behind the kitchen. Beautiful. As you get older, you appreciate those moments. You're not even understanding how those moments will affect you later on in life and how they make you feel so special. To a shy, homely little girl, fantasies can be everything. Facts. Your salvation, your lifetime. To tell you the truth, I have no idea what I would have done or what I would have become without my fantasies. Fantasies about cooking magic food. Fantasies about dogs and cats in wigs and hats. Fantasies about butterflies and fireflies taking off into the sky. Word. It's okay to dream. I was born in Philadelphia on May 24th, 1944. My parents named me Patricia Louise, but everybody called me Patsy. Until I was 15, I lived in Elmwood, a close-knit, mostly black working-class community out near the airport. Our house was on the corner of South 84th Street at the end of a long line of brick row houses, all similar in shape and size. Man, them houses in Philly remind me of them houses that we have home in D.C. and in Baltimore. Baltimore ain't my home. I don't know them niggas up there. Them brick row houses, like them brownstones, oh my God, they are simply beautiful. Down there in the Shore District in D.C., them houses be worth like $2 million. What the fuck? Just because there's white folks there? And then, child, it was a whole family of white people walking to the bus stop. I said, God damn, what does this world come to when you got a whole white family on Saratoga? Child, it's over. What I remember most about Elmwood is there was no strangers there. Word. Everyone had a link to everyone else. People were connected. Neighbors watched out for neighbors. And those are the things, like I said in the first video, that you realize why you're so special. Because you can remember this. You could leave your door open and all the parents looked out. We weren't rich or poor. My father, Henry Hope Jr., worked at Baldwin Locomotive, a nearby train factory, and my mother, Bertha, served food at St. Agnes Hospital before she quit to stay home with us kids. Bertha is chubby. There were 5 of us. My brother Thomas and my older sister Vivian were both long before I was even thought about. Thomas or Junior, as we call him, is older than me by 14 years. Vivian was older by a dozen. I never met their father, Thomas Hogan Sr. He and my mother separated when Vivian was just a baby, and he died in 1972. I was my mother's fourth child, 2 years after my sister Barbara and a year before my sister Jackie. Our family was squeezed into 4 small bedrooms on the top floor. 1 room for my parents, 1 room for Vivian, 1 room for Vivian's son, Butchie, and 1 room for Barbara, Jackie, and me. As a little girl, I thought our home was the most exciting place on earth. That's how I felt about Capitol Hill. I was just so fortunate. When you realize, when you look back on it, on your upbringing and what your grandparents were able to afford you in life, you'd be like, God damn, I've been a Bap my whole damn life and didn't even know it. Bap is Black American Princess. And didn't even know it, didn't even realize how fortunate you were as a child. Even though you weren't rich, but you were well from poor, very far away from poor. As a little girl, though, our house was the most exciting place on earth. It was the hangout, the gathering place for everybody in the neighborhood. The front door was never locked, and there was always a steady flow of friends and neighbors dropping by, weekday or weekend. Our living room was always jumping, always packed with people laughing and talking and boasting and bragging. The best part was I could watch all the action from a safe distance. The top of the stairs. No, I think this is like a black folks thing. You know, I've always say, honey, if it's an apocalypse, that it's going to be 2 things to survive: the riches and us black folks. Because one thing we do know how to do is make money. Now, I know you make money. Half the young people around here, they become bums at the age 13 years old. That's true. That's true. But back in the day, us black folks knew how to make money by having card parties, rent parties, selling dinners, not just fish dinners. Blink if you've been around long enough to know what a fish dinner is. Oh, and I forgot about this one, having boarders. You hear me? My grandmother on my dad's side been Airbnb-ing long before the Airbnb. We've always known how to make some money or to hustle up some money. And sometimes we would turn our homes into a business. And you ain't got to report that shit to the IRS. I mean, you do. IRS, if you're watching, yes, you do. You do. You have to. Okay? You have to. Blink. The living room was the center of the action. Furniture was pushed against the walls, and card tables were set up side by side in the middle of the floor between games of tonk and pity-pat. Chubby and Naomi sold homemade dinners, fried chicken, and potato salad. Went for around $1 a plate. If you wanted greens, they were extra. You had to get your order in early, though. I don't care how much money you had in your pocket. Come nightfall, there wasn't a chicken bone left to be had. Unlike the fried chicken and potato salad, the liquor and the card games were never in short supply. You could play for $2 a game, or if you wanted some real action, you could go down to the basement. The basement was for high rollers, serious gamblers only. In the basement, the game was poker, not pity-pat, and it was meant for the people with real money and real nerve. On those nights when folks were really in their cups and I was sure I could sneak through the living room unnoticed, I would stand at the top of the basement stairs and peer down into the darkness. I couldn't see much, just shadows and shapes and silhouettes of people sitting at card tables or gathered around the bar. Ray Charles or Billy Eckstein was usually playing on the box. I was drawn to the magic and the mystery of it all. Little did I know that I would grow to hate basements because of the nasty smutty, unspeakable things that would happen to me in my own. I adored my father. People said I looked a lot like him, but I never thought so. He was fine. Lord, was my father fine. He had coffee and cream-colored skin, Indian-like features, and thick dark hair that he wore combed back. The first time my mother brought him home, Grandmother Ellen teased her for days about her pretty wavy-haired man. And my father put the C in clean, too. Day or night, he would be dressed to kill, or if not kill, at least seriously hurt somebody. Dirt didn't touch him, at least not for long. Pause, I told y'all, ladies. My father, okay, hold on. I'm 52. My dad is 19 years older than me, so he would be 71. Watch that nigga. You hear me? He does not look 72. My father can easily pass for maybe 58. Maybe 50. Might be 58. Maybe 60 at the oldest. Watch him. There's no doubt in my mind he's the reason I've always been such a neat freak. As good as he looked on the outside, that's how good I always thought he was on the inside. As far back as I can remember, he worked night and day so that he could afford to give Chubby, my sisters, and me whatever we wanted. As I would learn years later, he had always been a good provider. He had to be. By the time he was 15, my daddy had lost both of his parents. His mother, my grandmother, Tempe, died of leukemia, and his father, Henry Holt Sr., was walking to work one morning when he just collapsed right there in the middle of the street. The doctor said he died of a massive stroke. With Henry and Tempe gone, all their children were sent to live with their grandparents. All of them, that is, except for my father. Henry was the second oldest child, and years earlier, when times got hard, he took it on himself to go out and earn the money needed to support his two brothers and two sisters. I've told y'all that my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, dropped out in the second grade. She could barely read, but she's the one that put us on Capitol Hill. The only place he could find work was in the Civilian Conservation Corps, the program that gave jobs to millions of young men during the Great Depression. Damn, that sounds like Job Corps. He was only 15, and so to get in, he lied about his age, pushing it up to 3 years. Hold on, pause. What in the world? Like, how is this possible that so many kids are able to lie back then? Maybe because they didn't have computers to just put in the computer. How old is this ninja? Beep, 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 beep. Oh, he's 16. 16. What? Okay, you telling me that you're 18, but the computers say, sir, that you're 16. Because you know how many young people went to war? Like, my sister's father went to Vietnam at 16 years old. He was only 15, and so to get in, he lied about his age, pushing it up 3 years. Within 3 months, he was working in Jacksonville, Florida, planting trees and building roads. But before he left his home in Georgia, he made a promise to his sister, Hattie Mae, he wouldn't marry until she did, until she found someone to take care of her. He would continue to take care of all of them, and that's just what he did. For years, Daddy sent his check home to his grandparents to care for his sisters and brothers. It's hard to imagine, but $25 a month supported the whole clan. When Hattie Mae wed in 1940, my father bought her wedding gown and her ring. Afterwards, he told her it was the first time in his life he had felt free to go out and pursue a life of his own. Yeah, because you don't have to take care of your family no more. Not long after Hattie Mae married, my father met my mother. It is my Aunt Hattie Mae who tells the story about a whirlwind fairy tale made for the movies Courtship that started in a heartbeat in Jacksonville in 1940.